the one thing that we didn't do a good job of is protecting the football. That is going to be critical. It's going to be a lot of what I talk about this week, because that's something that Illinois does such a good job of is turnover. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But we didn't win the turnover battle. We had one interception, but the ball was on the ground too many times, and they had none. Penalties, although it didn't necessarily feel like that, because we were sloppier than we've been. We won the penalty battle. We won the drive start battle, which so far Blake has been a weapon for us. We won the sack battle pretty handedly, 7 sacks to 1. And then the explosive play battle, we won that pretty handily as well. Offensively at 21% and defensively at 5%. Coaching staff, players of the week on offense was Trace McSorley. On defense was Sharif Miller. And on special teams was a combination. We had 2 winners, KJ Hamler and Isaac Lutz. So very pleased with those guys. Some general kind of comments. Some of these I covered after the game. But number 1, positive notes, we won 63-10. 2, we stayed healthy. 3, we got a lot of guys reps and experience, some for the first time. We had 11 guys play for the first time. 7 of those 11 were true freshmen. We were able to limit reps of our starting unit, which is going to be obviously important this week with a turnaround. And then I saw some really good examples of discipline, which we talk about with our guys all the time. So there was a couple penalties, one specifically on the sideline where their guy was shoving and pushing us, and one guy took a swipe at us after the whistle, and we didn't respond. And that we talk about that all the time. With our players, because if we would have responded, it would have been either unsportsmanlike conduct on both teams, or a lot of times the second guy in is the one that gets the penalty. So we didn't respond; they got the penalty. That's an opportunity. That's a time that you have to swallow your pride. These guys are prideful guys, and they want to defend themselves, and you can't. You walk away. So I thought that was a real positive. Opportunities for growth. We got to be more consistent in all 3 phases. Defensively, we've got to eliminate the pre-snap penalties, those three offsides penalties. Obviously, especially the way they played out, our free yards and free opportunities that we got to take away. And then offensively, we took 21 points off the board with 2 holding penalties and a pass interference. So we got to be better there. The one holding penalty was not a holding penalty. It looked like it. Mennett got called for it. If you watch the play, Mennett's locked up on the guy, and the guard comes and knocks the nose over. And if you're watching it and you just see the end of the play, you think Mennett pulled him down. But what really happened is the guard just came and cleaned him up. So, that it is what it is. But in my opinion, that was not a penalty. Getting into Illinois, obviously got tremendous respect for Lovie Smith and his career. What he's been able to do, his 3rd season as the head coach at Illinois, 14th year of head coaching experience, Illinois, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Chicago Bears. 19 years of NFL coaching experience, 11 as a head coach, 1 Super Bowl appearance as a head coach, 1 as a defensive coordinator with the Rams. You look at what he was able to do with the Chicago Bears, 3 division titles, 2 NFC championship game appearances, a Super Bowl appearance, AP Coach of the Year in 2005, and is the 3rd winningest coach in Chicago Bears history. So obviously the guy's won a lot of games and is a very, very good football coach. They returned 17 of the 29 starters, and we think we're going to have some challenges. There's no doubt, and it looks like this week, looking at their depth charts, they're going to have some guys back that haven't been available to them that they feel like are some of their better players. Rod Smith is a first-year offensive coordinator there. Is an old Rich Rod guy in terms of system and scheme. Has been at Arizona. You look at the numbers that they were able to put up when he was the offensive coordinator at Arizona with Khalil Tate. They did some great things. Was at Indiana as a co-offensive coordinator before that, South Florida. So this guy's a veteran offensive coordinator. They got 5 returning starters. They're an 11 personnel team, 70% of the time about. They will go some 12 personnel and 20 personnel about 10% of the time. There's a lot of carryover with what our defense saw, at Kent State and from our offense. They use multiple 2x1 and 3x1 sets. They run, split flow zone read. They run the stretch play, and they read that as well, and same thing with the counter. Play action pass, screens, and boots a lot. So they put up pretty good numbers statistically, offensively. It's going to be a challenge for us. Both their starting quarterback, A.J. Bush, who I think has got a hamstring pull and missed last week's game, as well as the backup, M.J. Rivers, have both played really well. Both are completing over 60% of their passes. The running back, Mike Epstein, who we're familiar with, is from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is averaging 7 yards a carry. Reggie Corbin, the backup, is averaging 6.5 yards a carry, and then they got a wide receiver, Ricky Smalling. We've been impressed with all those guys, and some of those guys we're obviously aware of through the recruiting process. Defensively, Lovey's got a defensive background, as well as Hardy Nickerson, the defensive coordinator. Been there 3 years, played in the NFL for 16 years, got tremendous background, 7 starting returners, 7 starters returning for them. They're well sound, they're opportunistic. I think the biggest factor in this game, no doubt about it, is going to be turnovers. I think they've gotten a turnover in 17 straight games. They have not turned the ball over this year, one of only a few programs in the country that has done that. And they've gotten multiple turnovers in almost every game, this season. So that's going to be the storyline in the game. That's what they're doing a really good job of. They're a 4-down front. They're going to play cover 1, cover 2. In the back end, overall 15% pressure, 14% on normal downs, and 25% on third down. We've been impressed with their productive linebacker, number 35, Jake Hansen. Their nose tackle, Tymir Oliver, who's from Philadelphia, West Catholic. Whenever I see that, I always kind of look back and say, why is there a guy from Philadelphia playing for Illinois and not Penn State? And obviously we didn't do a good enough job there, because not only is he a good player for him, but he's a captain. So we always kind of revisit those things. And then DB, number 31, Cameron Watkins, we've been impressed with him. And then special teams, Bob Ligashevsky, I've known for a long time. Bob's a PA guy, has done a nice job for them, has got 15 years of collegiate experience as well as 12 years of NFL experience. I think you hear that a lot of NFL experience on this staff. They're returning 5 of their 7 starters on special teams. We're impressed with linebacker number 10, James Knight, kicker number 43, Chase McLaughlin, 7 field goals. Along a 54. I think he's the record holder in Illinois' program history of field goals over 50 yards. I think he's got 4 of them. And then 16 touchbacks this season, so a really strong leg. And then just like everybody else in college football, they have a Australian punter who does a nice job, nice job for him as well. So, just kind of wanted to give you kind of some overview, some thoughts, some ideas. I like where we're at. It's going to be important that we practice well, today and take another step in the right direction. So open up the questions.
Start with Rich Scarcella from the Reading Eagle.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon.